So now that we understand tasks,
Mhm.
what comes next?
Well, then you actually start to get drawing the screens. You get to pick up the pen or the whiteboard marker or the mouse and start trying to imagine what these scenes, these environments the user is going to interact with actually look like. So you're going back to the tasks and kind of figuring out what are the pieces of information that they need to see, what are the pieces of information they need to provide, how do those all fit together on the screen to support that task. And from there, you can kind of start building one screen and maybe a couple of screens that cover that task, and then look for kind of connections. You can start looking for things that happened earlier to the user that brought them to this stage. Well, those screens want to be related in some way. Or you think about things that they want to do from that point. Once they complete that task, well, where do they go? And as you start to kind of get all these screens, you start to build these flows and connect them. You have a sense of which things are really important, which things are less important or frequently used. You start to build out the structure for this experience. And you think about, okay, the user might come in this way and spend a lot of time here, and then hop over into this different condition and spend time there. And that starts to guide you about how the overall navigation of that experience is going to work.
And which tool do you love to use to do that?
Oh, I love paper and pencil.
Right.
But at some point you get more and more detailed with what you're doing. So you can start very coarse. You can just start with a whiteboard or scraps of paper, because you want to kind of fail quickly. You want to draw out things, realize what's wrong with them, crumple them up and throw them away and draw them again. A lot of what I do as a designer is iteration. And there's a saying that writing is rewriting. That applies to design as well. Design is redesigning.
So you design it, you show it to someone, you get some feedback, and then you redesign it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you often will draw a lot of different things and just kind of get a feel for, from feedback and from your own experience and from the understanding of the user that you've built up through all those other steps, which ones are the best bets, which make the most sense. And some of that is about kind of making a choice based on the whole product. It's good if you can get to a smaller number of patterns that the user has to learn, rather than the user having to learn 100 different styles of working with your app.
Right. So when do I know that I'm done with all these checks?
Okay, so you're never done. That's a joke.
That's
within
unfortunate.
design. No, sorry.
Okay.
I mean, it's great. You could try, but you're never going to quite get there. Like, there's always going to be something that you want to change. You learn something else from the testing or from putting it out, or there's some new capability that comes around that you want to incorporate into the product. You'll get closer and closer. You'll continue to approach it. You'll never quite land there. So you'll kind of go through and you'll iterate and you'll redesign and you'll go to higher and higher levels of fidelity. You'll go from those pencil sketches to mock-ups to very polished mock-ups to prototypes, and you'll start building it at some point. So that said, there's things you can look for.
Okay.
So you don't have to give up all hope.
Okay.
So if have you covered all of those tasks that you want to address? Like, have you completely solved the problem you're looking at? Does the product have a point of view about what things are important and which aren't? If you have the tasks that are high priority, like, make them feel like they're important to the user. Like, stress them so that they know this is what this product is about. You've done user testing, right?
Of course.
Okay. So have you covered all of the issues that arose from that? Have you kind of addressed those high priority items? And then finally, have you solved the problem you set out to solve? Go back to those original goals and see, am I actually meeting what I understand I need to do for that user?
And what would be a good mark or a signal to tell me that I need to move from design to actually do rapid prototyping or stuff like that?
You should do that as rapidly as you can. Even if you're just doing, testing things on paper, prototyping it out using kind of the simplest tools that you can do. You have that analysis phase, and then once you move into design, design and prototyping should be very much hand in hand.
Right.
The closer you get to something that feels like a real experience to a user, the better feedback you're going to get from them in many cases. So you want to get to that point as rapidly as you can.